Hi, I'm Bridget, and today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in April. I don't know if it's just me, but April doesn't seem real, and I feel like we're in never-ending March still. March went on for so long, and now it's May. Sounds fake, but okay. April just seemed to go by like that, and I'm still like, we're in March, right? Where did April go? I don't know. It whoosh, and then it was over. Well, not all the books I read in April, because I talked about a few of them that I read at the beginning of the month in my last recent reads video, which I will link somewhere up here and in the description if you want to go check that out. So I have 8 books to talk about. I read 10 books in April, which is wild. I don't remember reading that much ever in a month, so that's cool. We know how wrap-ups work, right? So let's just get started. The first book I have is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. It's an adult supernatural fiction about this girl named Alex who goes to Yale University, which I've been there, so like it was cool to read about somewhere that I've been, and like I'm from Connecticut, so it was cool to read about somewhere in Connecticut because there's not a lot of stuff happening here. So that was fun for me personally. And the interesting thing about Alex is that she can see ghosts. So she goes to Yale and she gets involved with the secret societies because she can see ghosts naturally. The secret societies deal with different like rituals and magic that is involved in this world, and she is special since she can see ghosts, so she has been chosen to be part of this one secret society so that she can help ward off ghosts and help during rituals. And Leigh Bardugo went to Yale, so that was kind of why she chose that area, I believe. The first half of this book is so slow. You're like, where are we going here? Just speed it up a bit. Like, she sets up a lot about Yale. She's very descriptive, which in some cases is good, but in this case I was like, pick up the story because I want to put it down. Like, there were several times where I was like, maybe we should just stop reading and I won't finish. However, since it was about Yale and I am near Yale, I was like, I need to finish just to my soul. And a lot of the people who had read this book, like this book has been super popular since it came out, and a lot of people who read it, they were like, oh my god, I loved it so much. And there are people who I'm like, I trust their opinions. So I had to finish it just to see what the hype was about and to like make sure how I felt about it was right. I just am in that mood now where I'm like, I can't trust other people's opinions. Sometimes I do. However, you gotta confirm it for yourself, you know? Everyone has different reading tastes. The second half, however, was much more eventful. So many things happened and like everything was connecting. I understand you need to set that up in the first half. However, there was a lot going on that I was like, I don't think we need this much detail. And I did enjoy the ending, so I plan on continuing the series. I thought it was good, and I thought like the way everything connected in the end was really great. I gave this a 3 stars out of 5. It was good, but like not wowing considering the first half. I was considering putting it down. And also I'm considering just driving over to Yale and seeing all the places she talks about, because like I've seen them before, but not in the context of what they mean, so I think that could be cool. Maybe I could do a video about it, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if you'd be interested in something like that. The next book I picked up was Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. This is a bind up of all the Shakespeare plays. It's very thick, but I didn't actually get a copy of this because I figured I could just read it in here and then read the online copy when we were doing our read through. If you're interested in watching a read through of Twelfth Night, you can click the link in the description, or like up here I'll put a little card so you can go watch that. We did a read through with some people and everyone was a bunch of characters. There was one scene where I just talked to myself as 3 different characters, which was a fun time. So highly recommend if you want to check that out. It was our Bard Book Club pick of the month for April, which was super fun. I thought there were a lot of good jokes in here. I thought it conveyed a lot better when hearing the jokes spoken as opposed to reading them, because reading them you're like, but then when people actually say the words you're like, ah, I see the tone we were going for here. I understand. We read a Shakespeare play and watch an adaptation of it every month, and watching this adaptation, we watched the 1996 version with Helena Bonham Carter. Watching the adaptation was fantastic because you really understood the relationships between the characters. Even when we were reading it through, I was kind of like, how are they all connected? When I was watching the film, I totally understood. It made a lot more sense. My favorite character was the Fool. He was great. Oh, if you don't know what this play's about, it's this one girl, Viola. She gets shipwrecked. She pretends to be a guy and becomes a messenger for this prince kind of dude, and then they fall in love. It's a case of like mistaken identities. Her brother comes because they're twins and everyone's like, oh my god, I've never seen a twin before, this is crazy. At a lot of points you're like, how do they not see that they're 2 different people? I have questions, but we're gonna suspend disbelief and agree that it could have happened. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. It was fun, but I thought the ending was just at a random point and there wasn't really any conclusion that I was happy with at the end, so that was kind of a bummer. It was kind of like, okay, and we're done. The next book I picked up was An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I have had this on my TBR for a while, and I knew everyone said this was amazing, and since it was his debut book, they were like, oh wow, he did such a great job. And reading it, I was like, I see why. It's fantastic. I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. It's about this girl, April, who records footage of this metal statue thing that lands in New York. She records it with her friend, and they post it online, and they're like, oh my god, look at this weird thing, it's a Carl, ha ha ha, and it's like, they just think it's a statue that they found in New York, and it was just like a cool thing. But then it turns out that the statues were all over the world, and they just landed there for seemingly no reason. And so then everyone's like, what is this? And they think it's like an alien thing, and they're all confused, and they're trying to figure out what this means for humanity as a whole. And there's people who really love the Carls and people who are against the Carls and think we should like attack them and everything like that. And she's fighting for the Carls, and so she becomes a face of this because she was the first one to record video footage and put it up online. So she becomes super famous, so it deals with her struggles of becoming famous overnight and how that affects her as a person, and then also her connections to the Carls and questioning how she has to react for humanity and like whether the Carls are good or not. I got the audiobook on Overdrive, and I was originally just gonna listen to like an hour maybe, and I was just gonna start it. I just sat there and listened to almost the whole thing. I was shook. I just became so invested, and I had an essay I had to do, and I didn't want to do the essay. I just wanted to continue listening to this book. So I really put off a lot of the essay because I was just like, okay, and then like 5 more pages, and then like 100 more pages, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go write my essay. This book is wild. It's so good. It blew me away. The audiobook was really good, and I can't wait for book 2. I'm so hyped. It was fantastic, and I'm so shook that I hadn't read it sooner. But if you haven't read this yet, I highly recommend. It's so good. Wow. The next book I picked up was a collection of like short poetry tweet things, and that's Good Morning, Good Night by Lin-Manuel Miranda and illustrated by Johnny Sun. In the past, Lin-Manuel Miranda has done Good Morning, Good Night tweets where in the morning he'd say, good morning, get ready for the day, you got this. And then at night he'd be like, you did it. Now rest and replenish your energy because you deserve it. And get ready for tomorrow because tomorrow's gonna be great. Stuff like that, and it would be like really cute and really motivational. I got the book because obviously I love Lin-Manuel Miranda and I had to get it. The illustrations are super cute. They're just a collection of all the short little sayings. They're very hopeful, and you're like, oh, you feel good about reading them. It took me like an hour to read this. It didn't take very long, but it was super fun and worth it. I was gonna originally try to read like one of them every day and like one in the morning and one at night, but that was a bad idea just for me personally because I can't just pick up and put down a book that easily. I just want to sit there, read it, and like be done with it. And having to pick it up at morning and I'd be like, I'm so tired, I will do that tomorrow. And then I just put it off. So like a habit like that for me like wasn't feasible, but I appreciate, like I think that could work for some people. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was a good way to remind me that the dark times we're in right now will pass eventually. The next book I picked up was 3 Guineas by Virginia Woolf. I read this for my Virginia Woolf class. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. It was so much longer than it needed to be, and she herself acknowledges that at one point. She's like, this is really long, and like, sorry, but like, it's happening. She says that like towards the end, and I'm like, you're right. It is too long. I understand her argument, and I totally think it's valid. I just think she could have made it way more concise. I don't know if like my dislike for it was because I was assigned to read it for school and like I wanted to finish it. However, that could be a factor in it. Probably one of my least favorite works by her. The next book I picked up was Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. I am trying to catch up on all of the Cassandra Clare books. I am 2 books away now after finishing this one. I have to read Ghost of the Shadow Market and Chain of Gold, which just came out, and then I'll be like up with the times. This book is so thick. Cassandra Clare loves to do that. She loves to make thick books, and like I'm here for it. Like, go you. She can like write all the words, and I'm here for it. But also, can we get some shorter books, because sometimes they make me happy. And just the idea of picking this up daunted me from day one when I bought this. I was like, I'm so excited, but also look at how big it is. It's 880 pages long. It's so long. A lot of people say this is like their favorite Cassandra Clare series. I still remain that The Infernal Devices was a work of art. I have not reread them. I don't know if I will. Like, I'm tempted to, but also I don't know. I need to push forward with Cassandra Clare's books because I'm so close to being caught up. The first 200 pages of this book were so slow. Like, I could not get through them. It was a struggle. It was just like hard to get into. Like, I understand the needing of like setting everything up, but it was a long time coming. Once the action finally did pick up, I got invested in the storylines. Like, Cassandra Clare is really great at crafting relationships between characters. I really felt for all of them, which was good. And Cassandra Clare really knows how to write an ending. Like, the ending was really great, and I was a big fan. However, also, like, the big bad throughout the series has been Annabelle Blackthorne, who, like, came back to life. Oh, sorry, I didn't explain this book. Ah, God. It's about the Blackthorne family and Emma Carstairs. Emma Carstairs is basically female Jace, whatever his last name is. Her and Julian Blackthorne, who's like the oldest, like the third oldest, but technically he's like the oldest because the other two were like vanished. They really want to be together, but they can't because they're pair bataille. That's like, okay, so there's like a bunch of storylines going on, but like that's the main one that you're following, and then you follow each of the other Blackthorns as they do different things. Anyway, the main plot of what was going on, like who was the villain, was Annabelle Blackthorne came back from the dead, was like tormenting them and like wanted to kill them and everything. And I felt like in this book, she was just like pushed to the side for the clave. Like, her death was very uneventful. Like, you're like, oh, and then she died. And that was really easy. And then there was the whole issue of the clave being really prejudiced against fairies. And like that became the main focus in the end of this book, which, fair enough. Like, that's a good premise to have, like the clave, like political issues and everything, and I really liked how they resolved it in the end, and I thought that was really well done, and I really love seeing Alec and Jace and everyone that we know and love. However, having that swoop in and like become the villain of the story didn't sit right with me, just because we had built up Annabelle as like this evil person who was gonna destroy them for the first 2 books, and then it was like, oh, that doesn't matter anymore. Now we're focused on the clave. I felt like all of that story building leading up to it was kind of for naught. Why'd you do that if you're just gonna shove her aside and be like, oh, and this guy, he sucks? It just seemed kind of pointless to me. So I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I thought the ending and everything was really great. I just feel like the Annabelle thing, and then also the fact that like the first 200 pages drag, it's a 900-page book and you gotta earn those 900 pages. So you gotta make everyone count. I felt like many of these were dispensable if you could have made it a lot shorter. And then I picked up Orlando by Virginia Woolf. This was the last book I had to read for my Virginia Woolf class, and she kept saying throughout the semester that a lot of people thought this was their favorite thing that she wrote, and I agree. I enjoyed this more than all the other Virginia Woolf books I had read this semester. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. It's about this guy, Orlando, and he's like royalty kind of thing, and he's really cool, and then he goes and he passes out for a long time, and then he wakes up and transforms into a woman. So now Orlando is a woman and goes about her life, and it's been many years, so she goes back and like all of her previous estates and everything are kind of gone, but she deals with it and then she writes a book. It's really cool. It's really good representation for trans people. It's also based on a person in Virginia Woolf's life who cross-dressed and everything, which was cool. I really enjoyed seeing how Orlando changed throughout the novel, like literally and mentally, because it showed like the struggles of being a woman, but also through a person who used to be a man's eyes, so she could compare the struggles very well and like eloquently explain her points, and no one could be like, well, you haven't like been a man, because she was a man, so that couldn't like deter their argument, which was cool. The evolution of the character as she went through society and saw how things changed was really great. I really enjoyed the like societal critique of it, and I thought it ended up being like a really cohesive story. It brings a lot of the elements from Virginia Woolf's other works into it, which I found really great and fascinating, because she brought a lot of the points like From a Room of One's Own and 3 Guineas into this novel, and I think it's probably the best explanation of her opinions on like society's views and stuff like that, but in like a fictional story, so it conveys it without being all in your face about it. And the last book I picked up during April was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I began my reread of The Hunger Games. I wanted to reread all of the books before the new one, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, comes out. I'm super excited about it, so I wanted to like reread The Hunger Games just to refresh myself, because it's been like 4 years since I read the series, and this is the 3rd time I've read this book specifically. I read it once and then I reread it before I read the other 2 books, and it was no less memorable this time than it was any of the other times. It's fantastic. You can really see that this is kind of where all the other dystopians came from, other than like 1984 and like The Giver. Those are way past, but this has really started the dystopian craze in YA lit like in 2015, 2014, like that time when they were all coming out and we were all like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever read, but then they were all the same story. It was really the origin for that. I still loved it so much. It's so fast paced, you get invested, you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? And she writes action scenes so beautifully, like not beautifully, but like she writes action scenes so great, and you're just gripped and you're like, oh my god, this is all happening in front of my mind. You can just really picture what's happening the way she describes it. And it's really hard to do that in like action, like very descriptive action scenes. You want to get across the sense of urgency, but also convey what's actually happening. And I feel like for a lot of authors that's difficult because you lose yourself in the writing, but in this it's like bam, 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 she did this, 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 and you're like, ah, what's gonna happen next? And even though I knew what was gonna happen next, I was still in it. I was like, oh my god, and then this is gonna come up, and I cried. Just when she volunteers for Prim, you're like, oh my god, my heart. I am so excited for the new book. Like, there's a lot of people online who are like, oh my god, like, it's about President Snow, that's gonna suck. And I feel like Suzanne Collins is the woman who gave us this extremely intelligent series critiquing societal views and like reality TV. I think she was really smart giving us this critique on society and everything. So I don't think she's gonna give us a straight answer by being like, Snow was a great guy and then he sucked. Because she built him up so well in these books that I don't think she can just go back on that. I think she's gonna give us something smart, it's gonna make us think, and I'm excited. I don't think that this is just a money grab, because why would she just disappear for like 10 years and then reappear and be like, hello, I want more money, please. So I kind of have faith. I feel like we need to read it before we judge. And I'm excited. So these were all the books I read in April. It was a wild time. I read a lot of books. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I had a great time reading a lot. Let me know down in the comments what you read in April. What was your favorite book? Have you read any of these that you would recommend? Please like this video if you enjoyed hearing me talk about these, and subscribe to my channel because I continue to read books. Okay, thanks. Bye!